What's up, agents, and welcome back to another division video. We're just about to do this heroic control point and test a build that I put together using the Strega. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. All right, so I get a lot of people telling me in my comments that they like the Strega. Now, this gun has never really been one for me. I'm not a massive fan of it. I think it's pretty slow firing, and I'm more lean towards burst DPS. But as you can see, we're getting some really big numbers right away already. You know, we're not relying on strikers. I guess that's the important thing that we need to say here. You know, this is not just a boring strikers build. Hello. There's only obliterate, essentially. Well, there's obliterate. There is unstoppable force as well, if we want to talk about actual stacking. But with the build that I put together, it fixes what my biggest problem is with the Strega, and it's the extremely small magazine size. We have got a small rate of fire boost in there as well, which is another, you know, issue potentially with the Strega as well. And in doing so, we haven't really dropped anything. So generally when you do things like that, you end up dropping damage and things like that. And we kind of stay away from doing that. We have some really good options right now in the game. And I think essentially that brings back some guns. This is a really bad positioning from me. Yeah, it brings some guns to life that we probably wouldn't necessarily use too much. Now, the one thing that I will say with the Strega, it's definitely better suited in missions. Because your enemies tend to be a little bit closer together. What was my character doing then? You know, and that, as you saw there, then the enemy didn't quite get the tag that I would have wanted him to. What is good though is that we can use the turrets that they're building to get stacks as well. They class as enemies. And we just wouldn't have got him dead without the mag size extension that I was talking about. So overall, yeah, it's a great build. Does the gun still have its issues? Yes. But what we'll do, we'll hop to a save zone where we can go through the build. And while I load, you might as well hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and maybe comment and let me know what you think down below. Alright, so let's get into the build and a potential switch that you could do as well. So here is the Strega. As you can see at the moment, I've got 66 bullets in it. And to be honest, we could probably drop 6 of these bullets and use the overdog gloves instead. You definitely want damage to target out of cover on here. But as you can see here, killing an enemy will apply a mark on every enemy within 20 meters. And that's really its downfall when you're using it in the open world. It works absolutely fine. It's still, you know, pretty effective. But essentially, I would definitely recommend using this gun in missions, if not close-knit missions, where you're definitely going to make the most out of this talent. Multiple marks can be applied to the same enemy. Max number of marks that can be applied to an enemy is 5. All marks on an enemy will disappear 10 seconds after the last one has been applied. But it deals 15% amp damage per mark to marked enemies, which is a huge amount. It also comes with some decent mods: 20 round mag, weapon handling, 5 crit chance, and 5 crit damage. This is the build, and the reason why I've kind of stepped back into using the Strega with this is because with unit alloys, we get a 50% magazine size buff, which is huge. It also gives us 20% assault rifle damage and 5% rate of fire. All the things a Strega needs. It's kind of favoriting the Strega a little bit. You know, this is what is short on the Strega. And when you think about the Strega as well, it doesn't actually do too much in the way of bad burst damage. If you wanted to compare it to a St. Elmo's engine, it's probably about 7 to 8% less burst damage. So it's not a huge amount. If you compared it to a Lexington, for instance, it actually does a little bit more burst damage than a Lexington, but that's before you take into account any talent. So the talent that you run would be considerable. You know, that's why the Lexington would pull ahead in that scenario. But as you can see on the mask here, we've got crit chance, and crit damage. Then it's just kind of a no-brainer for the next two. Run the equalizer, because we get perfect obliterate, which is just more damage, double crit chance and crit damage. Then obviously again we're going to run the salvo, because that then gives us an extra 5% rate of fire, crit damage here, because then that takes up to 770 with the RPM. Still pretty slow when you look at other assault rifles that we've got, but look how big the damage is. Yes, I'm level 30 expertise. I kind of always live by the rule that anything over 10 is just good enough in this game right now. We don't have any content that is particularly too hard. As long as you've got your maxed out stats here, then, you know, expertise is just definitely an absolute bonus. But yeah, then critical hit damage on the bottom. But don't worry too much about the crit damage or the crit chance rolls. They don't have to be the same as mine. Just get as close to 60% crit chance as you do with any all red builds. But then we can even buff that weapon damage a little bit more by running a Fenris piece. So we get 10% assault rifle damage here. Weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage with unstoppable force. You could run vigilance here, but I just don't like the fact that if you get hit, you lose 25% weapon damage. I'd rather have a little bit of a stacking mechanic where I don't lose any weapon damage, and especially if playing solo. You can see here I've got the Eagle's Grasp, and this would be the one thing that you could change if you wanted to. I went with it because it provides some weapon handling, and the Strega's not the best when it comes to handling, but you could quite easily just swap in the bloody knuckles, the overdogs here instead, and you would again take a huge amount more damage to the enemies, because we all know that overdogs are kind of active 60 to 70% of the time without even really trying, which is pretty good. And then Foxy's Prayers, just for the damage target out of cover bonus, but this is pretty optional here. You could put something else on here if you wanted to. If we were to take a look at the stats, you can see him at 57 crit chance, 110 critical hit damage, which is really low considering some other builds that we put together. But we've got a great amount of weapon damage, along with the gun talent bonus that we get, chest talent bonus that we get, and backpack talent bonus that we get. We just hit like a truck without having to really rely on anything else. If you want a good solid build that just hits like a truck, this will just work. And you can kind of swap in any assault rifle that you want here. I'll probably make this change, to be perfectly honest. I think this is probably a better change. I think I'll do even more damage. So I think this is where I will leave the build right now. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm going to step into a few other builds with a few other different guns that I've not used for a while. This gun matches the Anubis outfit quite well. But that's going to be it for the video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. As always, thank you so much for all the love and support, agents. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.